Cayuga collection last week. I am the Central America Portfolio Director with Clark Cottola Representation, and I'm talking to you from my home and newly painted office in Portland, Oregon. And today we're going to talk about Nicaragua and Jicaro Island Lodge, which, although we're not supposed to play favorites, I have to share is my very favorite of all of the Cayuga collection properties that we work with. It's also a National Geographic Unique Lodge of the World because of its commitment to not only conservation and ethical environmental practices in its operations, but actually the human aspect of sustainability and how it works with the local communities, which is something that Hans really talked about last week as a focus for Cayuga. So going to Nicaragua quickly, if you're in the travel industry, you probably know where Nicaragua is, but just in case, it is smack in the middle of Central America. So the borders are with Honduras to the north and then Costa Rica to the south. You can see how skinny the border is with Costa Rica right here. That makes Nicaragua, at least previously when flights were available, really easy to access from Liberia and Costa Rica. The international airport for arrivals into Nicaragua is in Managua, which you'll see up here, just a little bit north of this large body of water, which is Lake Nicaragua. As of late 2019, early 2020, flight carriage to Nicaragua was about at 30% capacity of what it was before the civil unrest started to happen in 2018. So you had limited nonstops from the US to Nicaragua on American, Copa United, Delta, and then Spirit Airlines, which nobody should fly in their right mind. And then the main gateways for getting to Nicaragua with nonstop service from the US were Miami, Atlanta, and Houston. So those were nonstop flights on the carriers that I mentioned previously. Right now, Nicaragua's borders technically are open, but because direct service has been culled so much, there's really no way to get into the country since you would have to connect on Avianca via El Salvador. So though the borders technically are open, Nicaragua is virtually impossible to get to at the moment. There's two seasons here. Typically, you're looking at the dry season, like most of Central America, from mid-November to April. Green season is mid-May through November, where you tend to have rain in the afternoon. September is the wettest month. Temperatures, and I'm speaking in Fahrenheit, is going to be about 80 to 85 degrees year-round in the lowlands. So whether you're at the coast or in Grenada, up in Leon, or on the lake, that's going to be your average temperature. As you get a little bit higher into the mountains, if you were to go into Matagalpa, for example, or if you go up to Mombacho volcano, which is a cloud forest, it gets significantly cooler. And keep that in mind because that's a nice day trip from Jicaro. So addressing COVID-19 in Nicaragua is sort of interesting compared to the other countries we've been talking about in this webinar series because Nicaragua's government has not really acknowledged the crisis in any way. So if you're looking at any of those facts, the data counters that are showing you number of cases, any information that's being put out by the Nicaraguan government is by and large being considered inaccurate by people in Nicaragua, members of the travel community. I spoke with Howard Coulson, who is the general manager of Jicaro Island yesterday. He's been the manager there since the property opened almost 10 years ago. And he just said that the government is vastly unreporting cases. So if you're talking to your clients, as much as I want to advocate for travel to Nicaragua, travel to Jicaro, just bear in mind that these really low numbers you're seeing are very inaccurate. The government has done virtually nothing. Borders have remained officially open, but as I mentioned, it's very impossible to get into the country since borders of all the surrounding countries are closed. But what we have seen, and I'd say this is the silver lining, is that people with lack of any government support have really taken it upon themselves to enact social distancing, to wear masks, PPE in the markets and walking around Granada. Jicaro has gone and worked with a lot of the local communities to educate them on what is quarantine, how should you wash your hands, how to make masks and use masks properly. And then the other good piece of this is most people know that the political situation in Nicaragua has been pretty volatile for for a number of years now, and that culminated with those protests in 2018 that led to a steep drop in tourism to Nicaragua. A lot of people think that this pandemic is going to be the final nail in Ortega's coffin as far as being president. There's elections in 2021, and everyone's really hopeful that, I don't want to say her name wrong, Cristiana Chamorro, who is the daughter of Violeta Chamorro, who was the elected president of Nicaragua from 1990 to 1997. People are very hopeful that she's going to be democratically elected next year and will be able to turn over a new leaf for Nicaragua. So that's a little bit of good news. And then the other thing, so that was the C word. So talking about the S word with Nicaragua is safety. After 2018, the country virtually shut down for tourism. And then towards the end of 2018, early 2019, we started to see it creep back little by little. And something I'm always asked by people is it safe? Is it safe? Can I go? And my answer personally, I've been there twice in the past year, is an emphatic yes. The violence and the issues that happened in 2018 were largely political. They really didn't affect any of the tourism areas. And when you go as a visitor now, or if you went as recently as February, when Clark was there with his wife, Jackie, they were on a little couples trip with the kids at home, which is what Jicaro is perfect for. You feel very safe. You feel very welcome and taken care of. The only signs of the issues that you'll see from the past are really a lack of tourists, and a number of the stores that existed in areas like Grenada and thrived off of tourism have shut down. So very hopeful that while Jicaro may not be a possibility for travel, or Nicaragua might not be a possibility for travel in the immediate future, like summer, early fall, we're hopeful that by festive season and looking into 2021, we'll be able to start receiving visitors again. Okay, so Nicaragua is known as the land of lakes and volcanoes. It's home to the largest lake in Central America, which you see a picture of here. That is Lake Nicaragua, also called Cociboca or Mar Dulce, the Sweet Sea by Spanish. And then the country is home to 23 volcanoes, 19 of which are active, and a huge range of topography kind of environments cover these mountains. You have ones like Mombacho that are covered in cloud forest. You have volcanoes like Concepcion on Ometepe Island that you can hike to the top of. You have sandboarding in Cerro Negro outside of Leon, which is or volcano boarding, one of only 2 places in the world that you can do that. But a lot of the volcanoes and lakes, in terms of what is easier to visit as day trips and makes a really compelling itinerary, is sort of up here where I'm waving my cursor around. You have Granada, of course, the international airport Managua is right here. Masaya is an active lava lake that you can visit at night and peer into the crater. That's a really cool experience and pretty unique in the world. Managua to Granada is about an hour driving, just so you have that drive time in mind. And then Jicaro is a 15-minute boat ride from the port in Granada. But a lot of people, and this always surprises me when I talk to advisors or I talk to people who have been to Nicaragua, they're like, oh yeah, I went to Nicaragua. I'm like, okay, great. Where did you go? Did you go to Granada? And they're like, no, I went to San Juan del Sur, or I was down on the coast. So this is the Isthmus of Rivas, this little stretch of land that separates Lake Nicaragua from the Pacific Ocean. And this area is really popular among surfers, and for good reason. The waves are by and large significantly less crowded than what you have in Costa Rica. You have beautiful, beautiful beaches that are somewhat unspoiled, these nice sandy protected bays that are great for swimming. There's excellent sport fishing. San Juan del Sur is the main establishment here. And then you have some really lovely properties to go and have a beach vacation at. Morgan's Rock is our favorite. I think that's a great complement with Jicaro. The picture from the top right is Morgan's Rock. And then you have ones like Rancho Santana that might appeal to more surfers. This property is a huge sprawling hacienda with private villas and hotels, and it has 5 different beaches that touch the property with different levels of surf breaks. But if you go if you only go to Nicaragua and you only go to the southern coast, the Emerald Coast, and go to the beaches, I think personally you're missing a lot of what makes the country so special, which are these volcanoes and lakes and the little towns that you get to visit, and the history of the people and the indigenous handicrafts that a lot of them make in the Pueblos Blancos. One benefit of being in the south is it is easier to get out to Ometepe Island. This is Concepcion, and then the other volcano, they're known as the Twins. This is actually the largest freshwater island in the world, and this is easier to access as a day trip, a long day trip, if you're staying down in southern Nicaragua. But I would really encourage you to encourage your clients to combine these two areas. So use Granada as a base. Stay in this area, preferably at Jicaro, for 4 nights, 5 nights, and then add on the beach at the end. You get to do so much more. You have so much more variety in this area that's easy to access, from towns to hiking in cloud forests to kayaking on the lake, to just strolling the colorful streets of Granada, and then go and have your beach experience. So that to me is the perfect itinerary that can last, 6 days, 7 days, 10 days, and I'll touch upon that at the end. But these two areas in conjunction are really where it's at. Okay, Q&A. Is McCool back open? No, from Caroline. As far as we know, so McCool was the auberge property on the southern coast. They were largely responsible for Esmeraldas Airport to open, which is an internal airport in Nicaragua, or a domestic airport that had flights from Managua. It also connected with Liberia and allowed a lot of private planes to land there. So there were rumors prior to the COVID pandemic that it was going to reopen at some point, but I don't have accurate information on where that stands now. So the answer right now is McCool is not open, but again, Morgan's Rock is a great option on the southern coast, and that is open right now. Main attraction and kind of one of the colonial jewels of Central America in Nicaragua is the city of Granada. It was founded by the Spanish in 1524, very colorful Baroque and Spanish colonial architecture, even some of the beautiful Moorish columns and arches. Fairly well preserved for having suffered several fires and a number of earthquake issues. Granada is considered an Atlantic port, even though it is closer to the Pacific Ocean. It's on the Pacific or the western coast of Lake Nicaragua. But again, that's because Lake Nicaragua is attached to the Caribbean via the San Juan River. And in the 1600s, and 1500s, you had a lot of issues of piracy happening along the lake. So they almost treated Lake Nicaragua like another version of a sea. And Granada, which was used as a Spanish stronghold to store gold and silver, was often the subject of pirate attacks. And that was until the Spanish built fortifications along the San Juan River. And like I was saying, in this area, you just have a lot of wonderful cultural offerings. Certainly spending time in Granada is something you want to do, either a half day or a full day, visiting the markets, going to the Pueblos Blancos, where they make this beautiful pottery. This is from San Juan del Oriente, which is near Masaya. And then spending time on the lake itself. There's more than 400 inhabited islands on Lake Nicaragua. More than 300 of them are very close to Granada, the Isletas de Granada. And these islands have been inhabited for centuries, and they've really given rise to a unique culture and people that's very connected to the lake. So that what comes to mind for me are areas like Imle Lake in Myanmar, or even Titicaca in Peru, where you have unique and very peaceful and tranquil societies that have grown up being very at one with the water. And when you stay at Jicaro, you get to live among them, and it's very much just a peaceful and different experience. It's something really different, and that's why people go and travel. One post I'm going to send you all later is by, if you sell Africa especially, you might recognize Brooke and Johan in the center of this photo. They took a group to Jicaro Island to celebrate Johan's 50th birthday. I think this was back in January or early February. Absolutely fell in love with Jicaro, Nicaragua, and just described this place as being the perfect playground for adults. It was like adult summer camp. So I'm going to share her blog with you because she's such a beautiful writer, and she really perfectly captured the magic of Nicaragua, the importance of tourism right now for a country like Nicaragua, and the experience of staying at Jicaro. So where Jicaro is located are these Isletas, which are outside of Granada. This isthmus of islands, it kind of curves around like a half moon, is a smattering of rocks that were thrown out into the lake when Mombacho volcano, which is this volcano you see in the background here, erupted. I think it was 20,000 years ago, but please don't quote me on that. And one of these is Jicaro Island. And as I was saying before, a lot of these islands are inhabited. So you're staying on Jicaro and you're watching the local people go back and forth on their daily lives. They row these colorful boats. Even the kids going to school, their transportation to school in the morning is rowing their boat. So you'll be on the yoga deck at Jicaro, like practicing, tree pose, and laughing little kids will be paddling by. And that's really the magic is seeing this island life that's so enchanting about this part of the country. And that's absolutely what drew Jicaro's owner in and caused her to purchase the island and start Jicaro about 10 years ago. So this is Karen Emanuel. She is from London. She is the owner of Jicaro Island Lodge. She's a really cool lady. She's also the CEO, an award-winning CEO of a company called Key Production, which I don't 100% understand exactly what they do, but they're in the music industry, and they do vinyl pressings, like limited edition vinyl pressings, and also they're bringing back cassette tapes and making those cool again. And she has clients like the Pixies in her Rolodex. But she was vacationing in Nicaragua a little bit over 10 years ago. She had stayed at Morgan's Rock. She had really liked the concept, and she was having a beer in Granada and saw a sign that said "Island for sale." And she's like, "Oh, well, I love Nicaragua." She was on kind of a sabbatical from her really busy, hectic corporate life. And she's like, maybe I can buy this island. So she went to see it, ended up purchasing what is now Jicaro, was really inspired to do something along the lines of Morgan's Rock that is very eco-friendly and sustainable, but have a very strong community initiative here and work with the local communities, the local schools, and have it be a project that not only benefits them, but is really run and operated by the local people. So she got involved with Cayuga, I think it was about 10 years ago, to build and open Jicaro, and the whole property is very sustainable, and I'll cover some of that in a minute. But a question we always get is who should stay at Jicaro Island? Brooke covers this really well in the blog that she wrote for Cayuga. It's really designed for groups of friends or adults. Families with older children will find it. We'll have a lot of fun there too. But it's the age limit that they typically have year-round is 12 and older. During the most popular times of year for families to travel, they'll drop that to 8. But the sweet spot is really, it's only 9 casitas. If you can buy it out or bring a group of friends, it's so fun. Couples traveling together. Back in April, I went with a girlfriend of mine. She had just finished her PhD. We went for a little 5-day getaway to celebrate, and it was such a fun girlfriend getaway, because you have access to things like Grenada and Mombacho. You have a lot to do at your fingertips, but you also feel a world away and isolated and at peace. And we just got to catch up, hang by the pool, swim in the lake. It was such a restorative vacation for both of us. So access to Jicaro as an island, it's by boat. Again, it's about a 15-minute boat ride from the port of Granada through the Isletas, which is actually a pretty popular tour that a lot of tour groups will sell from Granada, is this quarter-day boat trip, just kind of motoring around the Isletas. You get to do that to and from your way to the island. When you arrive, you're welcomed by the most caring staff. And this is really where a lot of Jicaro's little details shine through, which I love. A lot of local, very authentic cultural details are woven into the entire experience here. This is grama tea. It's made from steeping this grass in hot water. It's chilled and then served with a little bit of flor de caña rum. Those are actually that's the fruit of the jicaro tree dried out. It's used for gourds, so that is what they use to serve. You'll see the straws here are made of bamboo. That's one of Cayuga's initiatives, is no single-use plastics. You won't find those anywhere in Jicaro. And then taking you around the island, this is an aerial view. I forget the actual size of the island, but it's not that big. So that's something clients need to know, is that if you are expecting a larger property with expansive grounds like Morgan's Rock, with lots of different amenities, well, there are a lot of amenities here, I don't want to say that, but just a lot of space like a resort, that's not what Jicaro is about. There's 9 casitas. They call them treehouse casitas. They're on stilts. They ring the outside of the island. They all face the water. So you have these beautiful water views from your balcony, but then you're shaded and have a lot of privacy from the trees that go around the island too. The arrival deck is over here. The arrival dock, excuse me. Yoga deck. Main areas are the restaurant, lounge, bar, the pool. There's a great mirador in the center of the island. But so now I'm going to take you for a little walk around the island and go into more depth about the rooms and some of these areas, so you get a better sense for it. Because there's a lot of little hidden spaces here that are special to have a drink and catch the sunset or play a game. Pool is in the center of the island. It's more of like a hangout bar pool. Karen, the owner, she loves her beer. She loves her cocktails. So one thing she really wanted Jicaro to have was a swim up bar. So you can sit right here and order from the bartender. Staff is also really great at just appearing right when you're thinking, it's kind of hot, I would love a refreshment. And there's some, they're at your side with a fresh squeezed fruit juice or a smoothie. They do lots of complimentary cocktail making classes, almost always highlighting Nicaragua's flor de caña rum. There's also several kind of clubhouse hangout areas. This area is adjacent to the bar that we're seeing here. Jicaro has a whole game library, and they're beautifully hand-carved wooden versions of our favorite games like Scrabble, Monopoly, Backgammon, this Jenga set, all made by Nicaraguan artisans. Wood carving is one of the traditional arts and crafts that's people in certain areas of Nicaragua are really well known for. And everything that you see at Jicaro, from the wood used in construction to what was used to make these games, is actually from a hurricane in 1993, Hurricane Felix, that felled a lot of hardwood forests. So even though they're using wood, it's been obtained very sustainably. There's also a small spa on the island where they can provide massages, facials, and scrubs for 2 people at a time. My favorite spot is the yoga deck. There's views towards Mombacho volcano. Yoga is complimentary and offered usually 5 mornings a week. Classes are around 7:30 before it gets too hot, but it's a lovely way to start your morning with some stretching by an instructor out on the deck. Sometimes you'll see fishermen out in the morning or kids paddling by on the way to school. There's a nice aerial view of the yoga deck. This floating island is really popular too. The lake water is in the mid-70s, so it's really refreshing to swim. You can take a kayak out there or a paddleboard out there. Really fun to just hang out. You can also swim out there, take your afternoon plunge after you've been out on an excursion all day. You come back to Jicaro and it's really refreshing. One thing I want to touch upon here also is people always ask, like, we heard you'll get bitten by a shark in Lake Nicaragua. Is that true? So Lake Nicaragua, it's absolutely huge. It's more than 3,000 square miles in size. It's about 110 miles long, I think, and it averages about 30 miles wide throughout its entirety. So it's an absolutely huge body of water. It's also the only freshwater lake in the world that contains oceanic life. So you do have swordfish, tarpons, and they have identified bull sharks in Lake Nicaragua that will go back and forth via the San Juan River. They've actually observed them jumping up the rapids like salmon to go back and forth between the Caribbean. I would say your chances of being bitten by a shark in Lake Nicaragua are probably about the same as if you're swimming in the ocean. It's never something that even crosses my mind when I'm there, but it's certainly a question we get from people. From swimming in it myself, I would just say it's safe, it's clean, it's refreshing. You should go do it. It's one of the highlights of staying here. On Lake Nicaragua, you also have this great Mirador Tower. You can climb up. It's a wonderful place to catch sunsets over. This is the center of the island. It's the highest point. Great place to watch sunsets over Mombacho Volcano. Really nice to go birding too. You can see it, especially in the morning. It's a great vantage points to watch the number of bird species that make their home on the island. Main dining area, the deck and the cenote. There's also a fire pit. Just a lot of beautiful outdoor spaces that you can hang out with a book, catch up with friends. This is the main restaurant. There's one restaurant on the property. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are served here. One thing that can seem a little strange to people is that the staff will ask you what you want for lunch after you put in your breakfast order, and then what you want for dinner after you put in your lunch order. And if you missed the briefing about this, you might think like, wow, is the kitchen incompetent? They can't handle multiple orders at once, but it's not that at all. Jicaro actually has a very extensive menu, lots of wonderful healthy options. You're never going to feel overly full here, but they sync up their trips to the market. They keep everything very, very fresh, and they sync up their trips to the market with staff changes on the boat, so they're not constantly using fuel going back and forth to buy produce every day. The island is tiny. They don't have a lot of storage space available. But so just read through the menu. After a couple days, or after a day or two, you will have seen a couple of favorites that you want to try throughout your stay there. But they're good about explaining that. Just know that you're going to order your meal you're going to order your next meal at the time you're having. I'm saying that wrong. Anyhow, you order lunch at breakfast, and then dinner at lunch is the way that Jicaro works. And it looks like another question came in. Okay, are all properties air conditioned? No. I'm going to talk about that with the casitas in a moment. As you'll see, the public spaces are all open air, so no air conditioning there. And then the casitas are not air conditioned either. But they've been built. They have fans upstairs and downstairs. They've been built in a way to take advantage of natural ventilation. You get really nice breezes coming in from the lake. There's actually a pretty strong wind current that comes up from the San Juan Valley. That creates the illusion of tides on Lake Nicaragua, but they're not tides. They're actually caused by the wind. But it cools everything down on the lake. I'd say it's several degrees cooler being out on Lake Nicaragua than staying in Granada itself. So for me, in the evenings, I often have the extra blanket that I'm using. Again, it's usually in 80 to 85 degrees is pretty much a seasonal constant during the day. And then in the evening, it probably drops down into the 70s. Talked about the food in Nicaragua. For being in the land of kind of rice and beans, you go through from like Mexico to Panama, and the cuisine of Central America usually isn't noteworthy. Nicaragua has some really great food, a lot of cool different street foods that are very traditional. Picaron is one that's a fun dish. It's a favorite to treat hangovers in the morning. And what Jicaro does is, because they understand that not everybody wants to go to Granada and buy food right from a vendor, is they have these typical Nicaraguan food nights where they'll set up different stands, and they'll have different street food specialties. So you can kind of go from cart to cart and try things you'd buy on the street in a very, very safe environment. They also have, this is a caballo bayo. This is like a traditional festive spread that you would have to celebrate a birthday, or a wedding in Nicaragua. And so they bring that experience to people staying at the property in a way that's very safe, very sanitary, so people feel comfortable trying it. For honeymooners or anyone celebrating an anniversary or a special event, they'll also set up private dinners on the floating dock. This is really fun to do at night. This is an additional cost. You can ask the team about it when you're making your reservation. But it's a really nice way to celebrate a special event on your final evening, cheersing and toasting while the sun's setting behind you in Mombacho, having dinner on your own little floating island in the middle of this beautiful lake. Okay, going to the casitas. There's 9 of them. They're all identical. If I had to pick my favorites, it would probably be like 7, 8, 9. They are on the side of the island that it's faces towards Mombacho volcano, so I think they have the best views, but all of the casitas have a water view. You access them via these kind of twisting paths through the lava rocks. They didn't cut down any trees when they constructed the casitas and constructed Jicaro Island, so everything is really working in harmony with nature. The casitas are on stilts, and they extend out over the water. You have quite a bit of privacy with the surrounding trees and then shade structures that are built on either side. Beautiful locally made hammocks on the balconies outside. This is a magical place to wake up. They do breakfast, coffee and banana bread or tea, or however you take your morning drink. I think that starts around 6 o'clock in the morning. And it's so nice to wake up. I'm an early riser on trips like this. I love to get up when the sun rises, when the birds start chirping, and then laying out here, enjoying this fresh baked banana bread and coffee is such a wonderful start to the day. I think it just sets the whole tone and pace for the kind of peaceful experience you're going to have. Going back to the details of Jicaro, these welcome amenities are in all of the rooms. I absolutely love them. Homemade coconut soap, coconut oil, locally made lip balm, and then this scrub that is made of coconut oil and coffee grounds for your face. It's so nice. They replenish it every day. Just these lovely little extra touches that set Jicaro apart and make it special. You also have a complimentary mini bar in each room that has, I'm forgetting it right now, the 2 different kinds of Nicaraguan beer, and then 2 different kinds of Flor de Caña rum. The first round is complimentary on the house. If you want refills, that's additional, but the pours are very ample. So downstairs you have a sunken living room. This bed this couch is also a bed that's a queen, I believe, that can sleep 2 people. A couple stairs you use to access this upper living area. This is where you have storage for clothes. This photo is actually shot kind of from the closet space, looking towards the bathroom. No bathtubs at Jicaro, it's all showers. And then upstairs is how you access the sleeping area with the king bed. So there's an aerial view from the upstairs looking down towards the showers. Again, just you see things in the design process that made you think, like, this was an adult designing a place for herself, for her friends, for couples. It really wasn't designed to have, well, it can accommodate children and it's fun for families with older kids. It really was designed for adults in mind. Upstairs in all the casitas, you have a king bed, mosquito netting around. The casitas in Jicaro, they're open air, but there's mesh screening on all of the windows. So bugs in the casitas really aren't a problem. Mosquitoes aren't really a problem here out on the lake. There's too many breezes. So it's really just a pleasant and refreshing way to stay. That being said, it's very much like it's eco-chic or rustic luxe, not air conditioning, not some of the grander things that we might associate with a 5-star resort. Jicaro is humble, but beautifully done. But really good to know if clients have mobility issues and going up and down the stairs to access a bedroom for them, let us know. We can always make that downstairs area up as a bed for the evening, but it also might not be the best choice for them. So we took you around the islands, touched upon what there is to do right on the island. The Jicaro Island Lodge experience, it is inclusive of 3 a la carte meals a day, daily yoga, one that is offered in the morning that's complimentary use of kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, 1 round-trip boat trip from the port of Granada to the island, and then also the sustainability tour, and then the visit to the Padre Nello School, which is a community project supported by Jicaro and Jicaro Island guests. So there is a lot to do just on the island itself for how small it is. And with the games you can play, the complimentary cocktail classes they mix in there. They'll do cooking classes and Spanish lessons too. There's a lot to do just on the island, so I would suggest, and this is actually what my friend told me, after we stayed for 5 days, I had kind of overprogrammed us, that's what I do, and had us going off on excursions and tours and just doing everything for the course of this week. My friend Chris was like, thank you, that was such a needed vacation, but I really wish we would have had just 1 full day to relax and chill on the island. So keep that in mind when you're designing trips for your own clients. That was feedback that I received. There's enough to do right on island to merit a day to just read and talk and chill out. There's a great tour book I'm going to send you in the follow-up to this, and that describes the experiences of Jicaro Island. That some of them are complimentary, but most of these would be additional tours that you would add on and book through either through the team at Jicaro in advance, or if you're working with a DMC, you could also book it through any of your partners in Nicaragua as well. Half and quarter day experiences, and this is sort of the sweet spot of Jicaro, are what you can do that's immersive in the community. This is what sets staying at Jicaro apart from staying at a hotel like Plaza Colón in Granada, which is like a 3-star hotel right off of the main square, is this opportunity to really interact and connect with the people that have been living on these islands for hundreds of years. One really fun activity that takes about 2 to 3 hours, typically done in the morning or at dusk, is going out with these artisanal fishermen who use these round nets, and the way they flick them and get them to flare out is totally an art. And then trying to catch your own fish, which you can then bring back to Jicaro and have the chef cook for you for lunch and dinner. So if you joined our talk last week with Hans, he talked about the Dock to Dish program that Cayuga is part of, which connects fishermen directly with chefs and cuts out any middlemen to ensure that the fishermen are getting paid fairly for whatever they catch. Jicaro is part of this. To the best of my knowledge, they're the only organization that has a freshwater Dock to Dish component in the world. So supporting these local fishermen and their livelihoods is a big part of Jicaro's mission. They also support the Padre Nello School. This is a school on one of the nearby islands, or it's actually on the mainland. And a number of the children from the surrounding communities, I think it serves over 100 kids, all attend school here. When Jicaro started partnering with Padre Nello School, it was an older, dilapidated building. It needed painting. They didn't have a way to treat drinking water. They didn't have electricity. So Jicaro has worked to install solar panels, a water filtration system that also benefits the local community who can come there and refill their water. They've worked towards providing the kitchen at the school with a cleaner burning stoves that are clean burning with fuel. Previously, they were just using wood and fires, and then the chefs and then kids were all getting respiratory issues from inhaling smoke all of the time. And then currently they're working with a lot of a women's sewing cooperative to help them purchase material to continue to sew uniforms for the kids attending the school. So that's one of the more recent community projects they're doing. The visit to Padre Nello School takes maybe like 2 hours total. It's really fun to play with the kids. Donations are always welcome. Often Howard, the general manager, if he's there, will accompany groups with you. And it's just a really great way to see the small but very impactful ways that a project like this can help and bring up a local community. Certainly spending time in Granada is a must-do. Going with a private guide from Jicaro who can bring to life the really interesting history of the city. Certainly some of the traditions we think of Nicaragua, with going to visit the cigar factory, going for a rum tasting. This is the Vigorón in the bottom left that I mentioned, this like delicious pork chicharron, and then this pickled slaw, like hangover cure. Going up inside the bell towers, seeing the Cathedral of Granada, which is the yellow building with the red domes. That was really picturesque. Another great half-day or full-day excursion that I love because it is cooler, temperature-wise, is going up to Mombacho Volcano. This takes about, it's maybe like, the entrance to the park is probably 20 minutes from Granada, but then the road to the top of it is impressively steep. I have no idea what the grade is, but it's kind of amazing that it's paved and that vehicles can get up there. But there's 3 different lengths of hiking options you can go on. And it's beautiful cloud forest. So when it's really hot down below, it's a nice excursion to get into a different temperature, cool down. If you have kids or you're interested, there's also zip lining that you can add on. If you're thinking of something like Arenal in Costa Rica, which is another volcano, super popular destination for Costa Rican itineraries, kind of feels a little bit like an adventure Disneyland at times, with just the number of operators and options, from ATVs to zip lines to sky trekking that you can do. At Mombacho, there's one operator. If you go on the hikes, you're probably going to see just a handful of other guests. So it's a really nice gateway to get away. And if you wanted to spend a full day off of Jicaro, you could easily go up to Mombacho in the morning, do your hiking, come down to Granada, do a walking tour with a guide, visit the market, have lunch, and then go back to Jicaro and have the balance of the afternoon. A full day that I really like is visiting these Pueblos Blancos. And these are a little bit north of Granada. Not a very long drive to Santa Catarina is one of the towns that's really well known for beautiful gardens and nurseries. So it's a town of so much color and blooms. And then San Juan del Oriente is where they make this amazing pottery where they hand carve these designs so it's made of just stone clay that they get from the ground. They throw it on a wheel. You can try throwing it yourself. You visit this man, actually, his pottery studio. He was showing us the natural pigments and dyes that they use. They do a slip coat. They hand carve these designs into the pottery, and then they fire it in a stone kiln outdoors. So in terms of a souvenir, this is a wonderful place to buy beautiful, locally made art to take home with you. You can stop at Apoyo Lagoon. This is a natural lagoon occurring in the top of an extinct volcano. And then you can continue on at night, which I would highly recommend doing, to go to the Masaya volcano. That you can do this experience during the day too, but it's just not the same. But at night, after dusk falls, you can peer down from the visitor center into this like bubbling lake of lava. I know it was closed briefly earlier this year, but I think that was due to some man who was going to walk a tightrope across it, if I remember correctly. But this is one of the few places in the world you can do something like this. It's an absolute highlight. That does make for a long day away from Jicaro. So if you're going to do that, I would break that up with some downtime on the island. But absolutely add this on. Masaya from Granada, again, is probably just about an hour driving total. But if you're stopping at all these little villages, having lunch at Apoyo, spending time with the potters in San Juan del Oriente, and then stopping at Masaya at the end to see this lava lake, you end up being gone for about a full day. So this, I should have showed you this slide previously, just kind of showing you this is all available in this really, really small area here. So like I was saying previously, there's a lot to do just in this northern section of Lake Nicaragua. If you have clients that want to go further afield, Leon is a popular day trip. This is a long day. This is where you can do the volcano boarding at Cerro Negro. And that takes about, I think it's a little bit over 3 hours driving to Leon. So just prepare clients to be gone all day. Also prepare them that if they try this, they're going to be hurtling down this volcano at about 30, they can reach speeds of up to 30 miles per hour. So this is not something for the faint of heart. But it is a very popular activity for adventure seekers and kind of unique in Nicaragua. I think there's only one other country that you can do this in. And just to give you some itinerary ideas that I touched upon before, I think the minimum amount of time that you'd want to spend here is 3 nights. That would give you time to do Granada and Mombacho, go and check out some of the sustainability initiatives that Jicaro has, go visit the Padrinello School, and then spend time on the island doing yoga, reading in your hammock, and then go down to the coast. I do like Jicaro and this area first, and then the coast second, for 2 reasons. I think it's fun to be active and then relax. I would also say that the rooms at Morgan's Rock, they have private plunge pools, these expansive swings on their balconies, their ocean views. So you're kind of trending upwards too in terms of room and accommodation only. So that's a good reason to do it that way. Another option with 4 nights is then to do a full day out in the Pueblos Blancos and Masaya. I've stayed up to 5 nights. There are endless number of things that you can do here. We've also had people come and stay at Jicaro for just a week. Keep it in mind as a buyout option. There's 9 casitas. It makes a really great getaway for people who want to socially distance and just have their group of friends. But pick a place that is where their travel is going to be having a really positive impact on the local community. We've had small weddings at Jicaro, and then of course, if you're doing a buyout for a family reunion, there is no age limitation. So keep those ideas in mind. And then of course, Jicaro is operated by the Cayuga Collection. And so they are implementing a number of sanitary and health health procedures with recommendations from the World Health Organization, regular sanitation of all the public areas, use of PPE by staff, working towards touchless checkout and communication with staff. And then some other initiatives that Cayuga has in relation to COVID, where they've rolled over their 2020 rates to 2021. Nicaragua was already a very kind of a bargain destination in terms of your money going further. So looking into 2021, you're getting even more that way. From April through December, the property has the pay 3, stay 4 night promotion. So why not take advantage of that? And then they've changed their terms and conditions with payment plans. So high season for next year, payment will be due 30 days out. I think for green season, it's like 15 to 10 days. Festive dates are the only times where you do need to book and pay, I believe, 60 days in advance. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to hang out here and chat or answer them. Hopefully I got you a little bit excited for Nicaragua, and I thank you for your time and interest in learning more. Okay, thanks, Lisa. Appreciate you attending. And then this was recorded. I'll send it to all participants soon, along with marketing materials and that link to Brooke's blog. Thank you, Nina. I owe you an email. Yes, definitely keep Nicaragua in mind for when people are ready to travel again to Central America. Their vacation really makes a difference in sustaining people in a destination. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, JS. What is the average nightly rate over green season versus dry season? Patricia, that's a great question. Off the top of my head, I feel like I'm just terrible with numbers. I want to say that double occupancy during green season before tax is like in the mid to high 300s for 2 people, and that includes the 3 meals a day, the excursions that I detailed, the round trip, boat trip from Grenada to the island, the yoga every morning. So it's a really good value. And then moving into high season, I think you're going up into around 500, but I'll send up the rate sheet. I'll send out the rate sheet as a follow-up to this. Off the top of my head, I don't really remember. Yes, Jean, I will 100% send high-res photos and the blog. We have we just got some photos back from people who were at Jicaro recently before all of this happened. So I will send that to everyone, and Hope made a great point here. Yes, Nicaragua and then Jicaro especially is a great value for a really private experience. And then you can combine that with Rancho Santana has private villas that you can book out for people. Or at Morgan's Rock, I think they have a couple of the 2-bedroom villa options that are great for friends or family groups. So you can keep it private and keep it very safe and customized feeling for guests, even traveling to somewhere like Nicaragua.